Meghan, should they now be truly worried about this? And more importantly, as ever, why? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. We're back inside today. We've been beaten in once again by the weather. We've got this thing over here, I think it's called Storm Irwin or Arwin, I never know. Have you noticed in this new modern digital age, every storm now has to have a name. In the old days, it was just windy, rainy, hailstones, snow, simply winter, bad weather. But oh no, in this weird and wonderful digital age of total PC, everything has to be named. And I know there's a scientific reason apparently behind that, but I think it also slightly frightens people, don't you, when they say, you know, Storm Eric or Storm Neil. Well, that's coming, particularly for these next two. As ever, we're talking about two of our once favourite royals, Meghan and Harry, but this particular story is really one for them to take a serious look at, and I'll explain the reasons why. As we know, at Netflix, their employers are currently filming the 5th season of The Crown, this time around with Imelda Staunton playing Our Glorious Majesty the Queen. And I love the way all of these actors, and I've met most of them in this particular series, they're all basically saying, oh, you know, it was too good an opportunity to miss and all that sort of stuff. Basically, actors are fickle, let me tell you. They will go anywhere as long as there's a check at the end of it. Now, you know, they all talk about being loyal to the monarchy, to Britain, all that sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with them earning a crust, but this is true soap opera trash. And if you are, of course, an actor with any salt, you know, just don't bother saying that you claim you're there because you want to, you know, put the story across. You're there because you need work. You've probably not worked throughout the pandemic. That's the reason why The Crown has been able to get such a stellar cast for season 5. Now, there was talk, of course, about season 6 and moving it into the next generation, but that's very tricky for the writer Peter Morgan. That's because, of course, there are too many people still with us who could contradict them even more. And as we told you recently, you know, even our one-time culture secretary tried to get a disclaimer at the start of the programme. But now a very good source out in California, the headquarters of Netflix, Harry and Meghan's employers, tell me this. It appears that when The Crown actually does finish, they quite like the idea of looking at the very early romance of none other than their two employees, Harry and Meghan. I jest you not. Now, unlike those Lifetime movies that I don't know about you, I think the actors do look like them, but the script is farcical at best, isn't it? I mean, the other one we told you about recently, Escaping the Palace, where that tawdry scene of Meghan Markle under a car, I mean, absolute trash fest. But apparently Netflix want to explore all avenues, I bet they do, with Harry and Meghan, and it could become something of a short mini-series, very similar to the things we used to see way back in the 80s. Do you remember? They were about 7 or 8 episodes long, normally put out on a Sunday nights and then back to back for the finale. Now, quite what the real Harry and Meghan will think to this remains to be seen. But as we've told you many times on the show, they desperately need the money. I mean, you know, they need money to live. As Harry famously said during the Oprah Winfrey interview, wouldn't necessarily have signed on if he hadn't have been financially cut off. All very nice for Netflix, I'm sure you'll agree. Now, quite what aspect and what take they would look at in the romance of Harry and Meghan remains to be seen. It's very early stages. But you know, I'm now beginning to wonder, do you think to keep them on board, they might make them executive producers? As ever, we have to say here, allegedly. But a very clever idea by them because, of course, once again, they could control the narrative of the story. And whatever people say, and Netflix are very clever at this, people would simply watch it because, once again, they would, no doubt, be putting their story, their truth across. Whichever way you look at it, it does seem strange that the company you work for is contemplating the idea of making a story about two employees. You know what I mean? Or is it just me? Neil Short in the heart of London.